Okay, are we recording? We are recording day two. Welcome to day two of the virtual detox. It was funny last night. I was like, I wonder how it's going for people. It's been very quiet in the chat. And then I realized, oh, wait, we're doing a virtual detox. That's probably a good thing. So maybe you guys were, on your devices less. So I know for me, it was really cool just to be with that question: is this generative or degenerative? And actually see how much generative time I do spend on my technology. That was kind of surprising for me. I have somebody knocking at my door. Yeah, it was just really cool to be like, wow, this is generative and this is generative and this is generative. And it's not all as degenerative as I was judging it to be. So that was really cool. And also when it was tipping into that place of being degenerative, then it's like, what would I really like to choose right now? And I wanted to talk today about this question. Oh, wow. That's cool. Parisa says, for the first time in years, I allowed myself to acknowledge the ways I'm using technology in a way that's destroying me, not from a place of significance, but from a place of wow. That's really cool. What the fuck else is possible? Yeah. And, the whole thing about this is like, it's just to have more awareness. It's not about making technology wrong. It's not about making you wrong. It's just, okay, let's look at this, let's look at like how, for me, a lot of it is like, how am I using my time? And is this how I want to be using my time? And this is what I wanted to talk about today is this question that I absolutely love that has been kind of a guiding question for me in my life in general since I heard it, which is what's going to create the most? And that question, you could like approach it with a fair amount of judgment, right? What's going to create the most? You could judge what the most, quote unquote, is, right? And from a place of judgment, like you could look at, let's look at your time on technology and be like, well, of course, it's not going to create the most to be on my computer and my phone all the time, right? Because X, Y, and Z. I mean, there's so many judgments that we have of that, and it's a bad thing and it's a distraction and you can't actually get to like the truth underneath everything. Like you can't get to the truth of what's actually true for you when you have all of these what we call refined judgments. These judgments that don't seem like judgments because they seem like, they're sort of moving you in the direction of something greater, and more like, oh, I should really spend less time on my technology. Like that's way more of a judgment for a lot of people. Shaima is wondering where she can watch the replays of the live videos in the Heather Nichols Creations Telegram chat. So if you go to heathernichols.com/Telegram, that's where it is. And I will I will post the replays in there every day. I think we'll probably put them on YouTube as well, but maybe not till the end. So anyway, so refined judgments are these judgments that seem to, they have this like sense of virtue to them, like for example, well, spending too much time on technology is a bad thing. And so I need to spend less time on technology. Notice that there's no question there. There's no wondering of like the actual question, what's going to create the most here? Well, one day it might be a lot of time on technology and another day it might not be, so you have to stay in question with it. And like I found myself on my devices quite a bit yesterday. But I had this totally different awareness, of like the kind of this question without directly asking it. But this totally different awareness of like, is this generative or degenerative? Like, the question I gave you yesterday, I was really present with that question and seeing where I was like, wow, there's a lot of classes that I'm creating and there's a lot of people to be in contact with and lots of different projects. And it was like, the projects were like humming and talking and being happy. And, and I was like having a good time, like popping around and, playing with different things and different people. And then I also like got to a point where I was like, cool, time to put it's now starting to tip into degenerative. So now I'm going to close my computer and I actually cooked last night, which I don't do very often. I made enchiladas. It was really good. I made some fun new cocktail recipes, which was really fun. And my son and I ended up watching some Ted Lasso. We love Ted Lasso. If you haven't seen Ted Lasso, you got to see Ted Lasso. I love that show. It's on Apple TV. So we like watch an episode every night, and that's really cool time that we spend together. So, but it's so cool to like be in question with this, not have those refined judgments of it's a virtual detox and I must, step away and I'm going to be good and I'm going to set boundaries for myself, because most of us don't tend to operate as much from like, it doesn't work to have really structured boundaries with our time. And yet the flip side of that is sometimes like adding some of that energy in can be really, really helpful. And we will talk more about that in future days. But what I want to get you guys into in the beginning here is really like observing, what's going on now. Is it generative? Is it degenerative? And add this question: what's going to create the most? And really not from judgment, not from the judgment of what the most is. So this is where you want to use the tools of access, light and heavy, right? So, and not thinking about getting it right, not trying to get it right. So it's like, cool. What could I, and you may even want to kind of pause and go, well, what are my options right now? What could I do with my time right now that's going to create the most, and maybe give yourself a little menu. Like I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Okay. And look at the energy of all those things. And there may be one, or there may be a couple things, that has more of a sense of lightness and expansion and like congruency with the future that you would like to create. So getting a sense of like, oh, what would I like the world to be like? What's the future that I would like to create? I just was reminded of this beautiful quote from Dane here the other day. We had made a meme of it. I think somebody actually might have posted it in the Telegram channel, chat, the group, Heather Nichols Creations. But it was, I don't remember. But anyway, it's the quote is, the universe has a way of dropping miracles in the laps of people that are creating a future. I'm pretty sure that's the quote. I don't know if we posted it or not. I saw it somewhere, but I love that quote. The universe has a way of dropping miracles in the laps of people that are creating a future. So add the energy of that. Like, is how you're using your time a creation of future, And with that, it's like, and this is like a bigger conversation, like this sort of meta conversation of like, and you may want to actually take some time. I'm just formulating all this as I'm talking. So you may want to take some time and look at it. So here's some home play today. So take some time to get a sense of the future that you would like to create. And it's not about defining it. It's really just the energy of it. It's like, what do I know is possible as a future on the planet? What would I like to create? And when I ask that, I get like a lot of like earth energy and the sense of like communion with the earth and treating the earth with regard. And then our bodies as part of that. And this future of like thrival and sustainability and like ever increasing greatness of like the planet and us and our bodies and what we can create and how we be with each other and how we be with the earth and this like magic, right? So those are just some words to kind of just give you an idea of like, you know, maybe there's something in there that pops for you, maybe it's different, but when I get a sense of that, it's like, cool. Okay. So now what if I was using my time really for the creation of that future, and not from, again, from like a rigidity and a sense of like, I have to do every single moment. I have to be creating a future, you know, because that's a bit constipated, you know, but really this sense of like, and when you spend time with the energy of the future that you would like to create, like the futures, let's say, that you would like to create, when you hang out with the energy of it, there's a real sense of like, you start to have more of a like fluency with those energies and more of an awareness of what that is and a sense of what that is energetically. And this is really energetic. So as you do that, you know, just take some time every day to just sort of be with what you know about the future, what you know is possible, what you'd like to see, the planet that you'd like to live on, and what that would be like. So it really dynamically includes your future. Hang out with that every day. Let those energies grow in your world. And then when you ask this question, like, what's going to create the most, that one, and or is this generative or degenerative, then you start to get a sense of like, okay, so is this actually matching the future that I know, the future that I would like to create? Yes, no. And sometimes just zoning out and watching a little, you know, Ted Lasso or whatever is, you know, like I had so much fun cooking and making cocktails for myself last night. Like my son wasn't even home at that point. I was just cooking for me, making some, like playing with some new recipes and some new ingredients and stuff. And just having like really, and I was like, this is part of the future that I'd like to create. Because one of the things I would like to see on the planet is a lot more hedonism, you know, and it's not about like everybody else needs to be hedonistic, but not me, you know. The way we create a future is by creating it for ourselves, choosing it for ourselves, you know. So I was like really enjoying being in that energy, you know, of hedonism. And I had bergamot oranges and orange blossom water and like, oh, it was so, I made the yummiest cocktail. It was really good. And I'm going to make a cocktail book. And, you know, so it was like part of that, you know, but that it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be some big lofty thing. It's like, if you're creating a future, the universe has a way of dropping miracles in your lap, you know? And so be in the question of that. What is the future that I would like to create? And is this what I'm doing right now and how I'm using my time right now? Is that creating the most that I know that I can create right now? Without the judgment of it, without that refined judgment of like, well, certainly making enchiladas wouldn't be creating a future, you know? But it really, like, it brought such delight to my world. And you know, that, what if that's so much of what this is all about, you know, like you really having joy and fun and the play of creation and the delight of creation, and your technology can contribute to that and it can diminish that. And you only, you know, in the moment by following the energy and asking the questions. So question of the day, what's going to create the most? Spend some time with the energy of the future that you would like to create, so that when you go to ask the question, like, is this part of the creation of that future? You know what it is that you're looking at. You know what it is that you're desiring to create, not from defining again, but from the energies of it. Okay, guys, have fun. And I will look at my schedule and see when I can go live tomorrow. I'll let you guys know. Thanks for being here and enjoy. See you then.